Hi, welcome to the disclaimer zone. Due to the nature of the manga I'll be covering today, this video will mention and talk about things such as SA, child abuse, animal abuse, and many more awful things. I will leave relevant support lines and phone numbers on the screen right now. They will show up at the end of the video and they will also be in the description. If you need help, please reach out and get it. People love you. Okay, let's get on with the video and make fun of a shitty manga. Uruma Shun is a 12-year-old boy who goes through hell every single day. He is tortured to near death by 5 bullies at his school, and it gets so bad that they don't even refer to him as human anymore, but rather Test Subject A. They see Shun as so far below human that the psychopathic leader of the troop states that the main experiment, the point of all this, the thing he wants to test out the most, is how far can he push Shun before he takes his own life. This leads to the group going after Shun's only safe place of refuge, his home, forcing his family into a car accident and beating his little brother into a coma. As a result, Shun is forced to live with his grandpa, a World War II Special Ops veteran, and when Shun declares that he will stop at nothing to get revenge on the 5 people who ruined his life, his grandpa elects to train him. This is the premise for Jūjika no Rokunin, or Corners of the Cross in some translations, and if you think, hey, that's a cool premise, I should go check that out, that's exactly what I thought, and oh gods, you should stay the heck away from this one. Spoilers for the first 100 or so chapters ahead. I don't think you should read this manga, I don't recommend it, but if any part of you cares, there's your spoiler warning. So first I'm going to go into why this manga sucks within its own story and its own continuity, and then I'm going to go into what's wrong with it in a meta sense, the subject matter, how it deals with that subject matter, yada yada, etc. So, before all the revenge murder starts, Shun goes over a promise he made with his grandpa, that being that if any of the kids he's targeting have changed in the 4 years since he has seen them, then he is to spare them and not go after them. The fact that this is mentioned so early makes one thing very clear. This is not foreshadowing, even though they tried to mislead us with his first victim. No, this is an ethics shield. This is Shun stating he has a rule in place that he will only go after those who truly deserve it. That everything happens from now on is justified, and boy, you need to believe that for what's coming. In fact, that isn't the only thing the manga will do to justify what's coming. These kids will do anything from killing kittens to assaulting women. And oh boy, does this manga love having its women assaulted, but we'll go more into that later. And from here, the manga will follow a basic formula. Shun will go after a new target, Shun will somehow get compromised by that target, Shun reveals that his grandpa taught him a new... well, I was gonna say technique, but superpowers. These are superpowers he's being taught. That is a literal fucking tree he is uprooting. What technique do you learn to do that? Shun uses his new superpowers to get the drop on the target, and then he spends the next 3 chapters, seriously, it's almost always 3 full chapters, torturing them in graphic detail. Now, as to what he does to torture them, YouTube will send a fucking hit squad after me if I go into that, but let's just say he uses a lot of old European torture methods. Like this. This is a pair of anguish. You should Google what it does on your work computer. The manga will follow this formula for a while, and it gets pretty predictable, but one annoying thing is that each murder is self-contained, meaning none of the superhuman abilities that Shun shows are relevant past when they are needed. Same applies to any suffering inflicted on him, past or present, by his current or previous targets, and this is all something that really rears its ugly head in the final confrontation of the first half of this manga. This is the dumbest fight I have ever seen in any manga or anything like it, and it just goes to show that this manga just really doesn't know what the fuck it's doing. While it has some good art at some points, it's just really kinda aimless, but you'll see what I mean. Let's get into it. So, Shun has been lured into a trap because the last living target, the psychopathic leader, has captured his brother, and during this confrontation, his grandpa shows up, sans a leg, to help out. In doing so, he reveals that even without a leg, he can still move faster than the naked eye can see, gracefully dodge attacks, and remove veins from people's body with 2 fingers. This will be relevant in a moment. So Shun and his grandpa, these two superhumans, get his brother back and stand guard against the Psycho's new crew. So you might be wondering, how are the bad guys going to get their hostage back? And I'll give you a few options as to how they might achieve this, and 10 seconds to think about it. A, they are also superhuman. B, they have a gun. Or C, the leader can stop time. 10 seconds on the clock, let's go. Okay, are you done? Yeah, I wish it was one of these. No, instead a normal woman with high heels on just walks in between the two of them and takes the kid. I'm not kidding. This is what happens immediately after this panel. These two are fucking super ninjas, and a normal woman just walks in at normal speed, not a super speed, just walks in, and when he goes to stop her, he is intercepted by the leader. Standing in front of him. Bro, you can move in a blur. You have super speed. They aren't even threatening the kid yet. Just go around it! Gramps then gets into a one-on-one fight with a guy with a chainsaw, showing more gracefulness and dexterity that should have stopped this garbage before, in the middle of the fight, the dude just turns around, leaving himself exposed, walks towards the kid that they have as a hostage, and swings a chainsaw at him. All the while, Gramps is having a dementia episode or something, because seriously, there is so much you could do here! But when the chainsaw is swung, I'll give you two guesses as to what Gramps does. A, takes out a vein in the back of the guy's neck. B, tackles him to the ground and brawls him. 10 seconds on the clock. Okay, gotcha again. He jumps in front of the chainsaw and fucking dies. Doesn't matter that it took more time and effort to do this than any of the other options that I put forward, along with Grandpa pointlessly dying, but we need Gramps to die, because there's 100 or so more chapters of this, and I don't know, there's no plan, fuck it, we just need something sad to happen. But on his dumbass deathbed, Gramps says that he's at least glad that he could die for his grandson. Then literally like 2 pages later, his grandson frickin' dies, and I don't even feel bad at this point. All of this could have been avoided if either of them used a fraction of the fricking superpowers that they constantly display, and if it wasn't so obvious that the writer just needed all of this to happen. When fiction goes this far out of its way to create a tragedy, it becomes less tragic and more comedic, and that's just kind of what happened here. So I've gone into how the story fails itself within its own continuity, and it's been a bit of fun up until this point. It's been stuff I can kind of poke fun at. But this is where I have to get serious for a moment and talk about where this manga goes from bad to straight up problematic. You know how I mentioned this manga seems to like assaulting women? Well, yeah, here's your double content warning. Time to talk about how this manga uses, and I do mean uses, sexual assault. I will be using certain panels from the manga for this section, not the worst of them, and I will censor them, but if that's too much, I totally get it. Feel free to leave. I made some other lighter-hearted videos, one about the beautiful masculinity of Yu Yu Hakusho. Go check out my other stuff if you want to, if you need something else to watch, but if you wanna leave this one, I totally get it. You've watched enough, like and subscribe, but you know, if you're still here and you still want to press on, let's get into it. So every female character in this manga gets assaulted, either sexually or physically, and it's always done to show how terrible a person is. I can't show you the worst of it, but what I am showing you is typically how it's framed. It's shown in such a way where it's meant to be erotic, which is disgusting. Because need I remind you that this isn't a fetish or kink manga, in which case, to each their own, dark corners of the internet and all that shit. This manga is an action thriller. In Shonen Magazine, every antagonist, bar like 2, commits or condones this act, and it's treated like a fight scene, something for you to watch and enjoy. How do I know that's the intent? Because there are 2 instances where an act of SA in this manga is meant to be disturbing. One of which is when it cuts back to Shun being essayed by his bullies as a kid. The edges of the panel are distorted black. The bully asks the question, "Do you know what sexual curiosity is?" before cutting to black with the sounds of whimpering, before we see Shun walking home crying. This is never brought up again, by the way. Like everything else in this manga, it's just something disgusting to shock you for dramatic effect. But as you can clearly see here, there is a clear difference between the essay that we are meant to find disturbing and essay that we are meant to enjoy. Fuck, I feel gross saying that. The second instance is when Shun finds a girl after she's been assaulted, and it's kind of haunting, showing how terrified she is, how she doesn't want anyone to come near her. Everything here has been conveyed without showing a single thing. Damn, this is almost tasteful. But we can't have that, and that's why the next chapter immediately after has to be a flashback showing the assault in graphic detail, because you can't just have it be horrible, you gotta show how hot it is! Okay, look, I'm not one to shy away from dark subject matter in stories. In fact, I often encourage the exploration of dark subject matter in stories and play devil's advocate for so many types of media that are quote-unquote crossing the line, and I do that so often that it genuinely annoys my friends sometimes. But the way this manga conveys, deals with, and uses sexual assault is disgusting and disrespectful. There is no thought or regard given to how the victims are affected, and the one time it does go into how the victim is affected, that victim then gets killed for more sympathy points in an arc. There is nothing this manga is trying to say. It is a repeated cycle of bad fights, sexual assault, and straight torture porn. Its cyclical nature is not the only way it resembles a pizza cutter. It is all edge and no point. And because I don't want to end this video on a bad note, and I don't want to talk about this shitty manga anymore, I'm going to spend this last section talking about a manga that addresses sexual assault and does so, in my opinion, brilliantly. Berserk is a manga that deals with a lot of horrible subjects, but I'm going to focus specifically on how it handles sexual violence against the main character, Guts, who was sexually assaulted as a child, and from that point on he doesn't let anyone touch him. He sleeps with his sword by his side, constantly keeping his guard up to maintain control and ownership over his own body. This follows him to the point where, when he does willingly share an intimate sexual moment with someone, he has a panic attack. He starts having flashbacks, blaming himself, and then Kasuga, his partner, embraces him. She accepts him in his entirety, scars and all, and reflects on her own trauma. And this is a brilliant moment where two broken people start to heal together. And the first time I read this, I cried, because as a man who has been a victim of SA, this is the most seen and empowered I have ever felt by any media. If you want to cover these things in a story in any way that is meant to be taken seriously, you need to be mindful of the scars this act leaves, how it affects the person, and, if possible, show that these scars can heal. Not use it as something to fill pages, not do whatever this shit is. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe.